Welcome to the Power Factor Show. Episode 144. Sponsored by Rainier Ballistics, Hodgdon Powders, and JPL Precision.
And welcome back to Power Factor. I'm Rick.
I'm Doug.
And Doug's back to talk again about 3-gun. If you saw the last 3-gun focused episode, we talked a little bit about gear and divisions. And so now that you're more interested in 3-gun and how to get started, we're going to go a little more into how to find matches, sanctioning bodies, different parts of the country which are hotbeds, etc., etc. So let's say if I've got the hook in me, I know I want to go shoot 3-gun. How do I get started down the road of finding matches, getting organized for? What does it take to get started? Even if I've got all my gear, where do I go to shoot?
Okay, so I think it's important. It's not mandatory, but it's important, I think, for shooters to at least have some grounding in action gun sports.
Okay.
So I think it's a mistake when I see somebody come out with all brand new equipment, they've never shot USPSA or anything, IDPA, nothing, and they come out and they want to shoot 3-gun and they have no idea what the whole thing's about. So if you really are interested in going out and learning how to shoot 3-gun, the first thing you need to do is know how to run a pistol in a pistol match. So walk before you can run. Get a chance to learn how to shoot your pistol and then go and shoot some pistol matches. Go out to a USPSA match or an IDPA match or something where you're used to shooting with an RO and loading on, you'll learn so much by just operating your handgun in those circumstances. Once you're kind of comfortable with shooting a gun in those circumstances, then you're ready to go maybe play some 3-gun.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't start shooting 3-gun until I'd already been shooting USPSA pistol for probably 4 years, so I was well familiar with the whole idea of the 180 and keeping my finger off the trigger and where the safety officer, range officer is likely to be relative to me, range commands, all that stuff. And if you go back, of course, since we're on the Power Factor Show, you can go back and look at earlier episodes that get into the basics of gun handling and also how to find local USPSA and IDPA clubs in your area. So if you want to get started at that level, get into the pistol shooting like Doug suggests, look and find your local USPSA or IDPA club and get started that way. So,
I have actually seen guys come across the United States to shoot 3-gun matches and come out and get DQ'd in their first 1 or 2 stages because they're not even sure how to do stuff and actually do the little 360 pirouette with a loaded gun, and then wonder what's wrong. You just need to know how to operate first. Yeah. Once you do that, once you figure that out and you've got your guns, you've gone out and you shot a little bit, you've figured out how to use your rifle and your shotgun, and now you might be ready to go to play some, start with some of the local 3-gun matches. Right. A good place to look is naturally if you're shooting USPSA, you should check around where the local matches that you're at and talk to people. Another good place is the Brian Enos forums, because all the big matches across the United States will all be listed on the Brian Enos forums. They have a whole section just on multi-gun. So you just go to the Brian Enos forums, look up the multi-gun section, and they have a calendar there that's set up for the whole year.
Now, we've been throwing around the term 3-gun and multi-gun. Now, my understanding from years ago is that 3-gun, strictly speaking, is a match where you're going to use your rifle, your pistol, and your shotgun, but separately. You'll shoot pistol stages, rifle stages, and shotgun stages, whereas multi-gun, you might use all mix of 2 or all 3 on a given stage, transitioning between the guns. Is that still the case?
I think one of the reasons was that USPSA had their tournaments, and so a tournament would be like a 3-gun match where you shot individual stages with different guns, but one gun only. And then they talked about multi-gun, this fabulous new thing where you actually had 2 or more guns on the same stage. Really, the 3-gun, the single stages, 1 gun per stage doesn't really exist anymore.
They don't do that much anymore.
Not an entire match.
Right.
You'll find at big matches sometimes you might have an all shotgun stage or an all pistol stage or an all rifle stage, but most of the stages will have at least 2 guns and some will have all 3 guns.
Okay.
And other matches like our match or like Iron Man are set up so that every stage has all 3 guns.
Now you say our match. Why don't you plug your match?
The Northwest Multigun Challenge, we hold it out in Bend, Oregon. We just did our second one in Bend this year. It's an outcome of the earlier R&R, Northwest Multigun. So R&R Targets ran them, and then we took over 3 years ago, and we just finished our third match.
Mm-hmm. How'd it go?
Went very, very well. Every year we've had more attendance. People really liked it this year. We had we're getting a little bit more of the amenities. We're trying to figure out how things run a little bit better. You know, your first match, you basically want to get through it. Your second match, you try to do a better job. This year, we really tried to make it all about the shooters. We went to a half-day format. So you shoot 3 stages, and then you're off for the rest of the day, so either morning or afternoon. And in Bend, Oregon, there's lots of stuff to do. So if you like to go out and party, there's a lot of breweries, and there's a lot of great stuff to do in Bend. And so people really like the fact that they could go and really have a vacation. If you bring your family with them, you're only gone half the day to the match, and the other half the day you can spend with your family.
Oh yeah, that sounds like fun.
I had a lot of fun. So, and then we had dinner at the range. So we had a chicken dinner at the end when we did awards, and so everybody liked it. Now, and we had a lot of stuff. We had 26 guns on the prize table this year. So.
Now, is that a USPSA match, or are you guys running your own mix of rules?
All right, with these, we're what's called an outlaw match. So pretty much any match that doesn't follow USPSA rules, they refer to as outlaw matches. They're really the only other sanctioning body that's been around is the IMGA and International Multigun Rules, and that's kind of really a set of rules. It's not really a sanctioning body. It's a set of rules that people use.
They throw it out there, and you can use it or not.
Right. So you basically have USPSA matches, and you have other matches.
Okay. Okay. And we touched on it in the earlier episode that you need to know in advance which set of rules you'll be shooting under, because you could have a situation where you're shooting one match, it's perfectly legal, another match it'll get you sent home or bumped open.
Right, that's correct. And actually some of the safety rules have changed in that effect too, because there's some places now that allow a dropped empty gun during a course of fire that you can pick it back up and continue on. And other matches are similar to USPSA, where after the beep, if you drop a gun, you're finished. So it really does depend, you know, whether you're going home or you're finishing the match, which one you're at and what the rule set is.
Right.
So there can be some major differences.
Right. So let's say now, since we got our introduction to practical competition via USPSA, that's not a bad place to look for multi-gun matches. I mean, you've got the USPSA website. They've got their own set of rules that USPSA affiliated clubs are going to use. So that's the one set of rules you can, anytime you go to a USPSA sanctioned match, you're going to find those rules in effect. But there are some big matches that are not USPSA affiliated. For instance, yours.
Well, most of the big matches.
Right? Yeah.
The only really big match that's USPS affiliated would be the Multigun Nationals.
Right.
There's some area 3-gun matches, but the one big match that USPSA holds is their national match, which has been in Las Vegas for the last few years.
So what are the other big matches? What are considered if you're going to do a tour of the major matches each year, which matches would you hit?
Well, you start out at the beginning of the year. You have Superstition Mountain. A Superstition is a really good match. It's nice because it's warm down there at the time of year. So
now, where is that?
It's down in Mesa, Arizona.
Okay.
So that's a real good match, and actually a lot of their rules are ones that have been copied by others. So they were one of the earlier matches. They've been around a long time, and they're one of the ones that's like a standard. It's a very, very good match, good prize table, and it's a lot of fun to shoot.
Okay.
It's a little bit faster match than some of the matches. Not as technical. It's all in bays. So it's not quite the same as some of the other matches that are a little more rugged. But it's a fun match. It's worth going to if you can get in. It's one of those things. All these big matches we'll talk about are full every year.
Okay.
So if you want to get in, you have to decide early that you want to go.
So then from Mesa, where do you go?
After Mesa, let's see. Well, Multigun Nationals is usually in the spring now, so that would be the next match. After Multigun Nationals, it used to be Blue Ridge, but they moved Blue Ridge to the end of the year because it kept raining all the time in Kentucky. So Blue Ridge is another great match. Now Blue Ridge is a natural terrain match. So you're basically not in any base. You're just out in the woods shooting. And so there's little valleys you'll shoot in. The years that I was there, they had a cave that you shot in.
Oh, wow.
So you actually went into a cave. I mean, it was pitch black. You were a ways in. You weren't at the beginning of the cave. You were like in the cave, like maybe 100 yards.
Wow.
And you couldn't see anything. And literally you could see the inside of your eyeballs. That's how dark it was. I mean, it was scary. So, but when you basically have a flashlight and you're shooting stuff.
Right.
After that, you have let's see what else is big. You have there used to be one back in at the AMU used to run, but that one's closed down. But they have in Texas. There's I'd say Texas Multigun. There's you have in Missouri. They have CMMG has a match out there. You have Ironman, which is in June.
What's one in Parma?
That's Ironman.
That's Ironman. Okay.
Yeah, Ironman is probably the biggest one out here in the West. Ironman is a great match because you shoot a lot of ammunition. It used to be tremendous. It was like 1,500, 1,800 rounds you shoot. Now it's kind of civilized. It's in the 700, 800 round range. But it's 2 to 3 times as many rounds as you shoot at any other match.
Right.
Now you might shoot as many rounds on one stage there as you might shoot in another 3-gun match.
Yeah. Wow.
So that's a tremendous match. Then you have our match. Our match is in July. Then you have Rocky Mountain, which is in August. You have the FN match, which is a big match back in the East, and there's a couple other ones, Ozarks and some other ones.
So you really spend the whole summer shooting major 3-gun matches.
Yeah, in the middle of summer is a little bit shy. Ours is the only one in July, but there are a lot of matches to shoot, and you could pretty much go around the country. Then there are some guys you see will go around in motorhomes and go from match to match. If
they're not USPSA sanctioned matches, how do they determine if a shooter is qualified? I mean, if there's no classification system or anything, how do they know that you should be let into their match?
That's a good question. Usually at smaller matches, if there's somebody you haven't seen before, like if you're running a local match and you see some guy just shows up with a bunch of gear, you might ask him if he's shot before or check and see if he's USPSA certified or something. At a big match, normally if they come to a big match, nobody asks you.
Really?
Yeah, there's no.
So if you have your match fee and
you paid
you're in.
Yeah, and it's usually it could be $300 or more for a match fee. And you paid that money and you've showed up at a match with your stuff, they're not going to question you.
Right.
Until you start shooting and you make a mistake, and then you might be going home the same day.
Sure.
So you have to really be careful what you're doing.
Right. So now within USPSA, do they have class 3-gun classification, or is it follow your pistol classification?
Well, it did until this year.
Okay.
And so this year's the first time that I've seen that they had no. Well, in 2006, I remember they didn't bring up classifications at all. And then there was some years around 2011, 2010, 11, 12 that they did classifications. I know at my 2009 too, because I won C class 2 years and I won B class 2 years. Mm-hmm. So I know they did pistol. It was by your pistol classification.
Right.
And this year they said Scotty Hawkins actually beat me for B class this year. And then so when I was waiting to hear him get his prize, and they went, well, we're not handing him out this year according to class, so he didn't get any wood, so to speak.
Okay.
But I have 3 really nice wood plaques that I have but he didn't get one. So
it's order of finish for the most part then?
It is now, according to the way that Phil Strader's running, it's order of finish.
Well, there's nothing wrong with that. Yeah. So we've got our major matches, sanctioning bodies. Now, do you think, for let's say just at the local level, somebody wants to get started, is USPSA the place to start? I mean, just as a blanket recommendation.
You mean in terms of 3-gun?
Just overall. I mean, we've already told them, get experienced in USPSA pistol competition to be familiar with the rules and the range commands and whatnot. But then if you want to get into the 3-gun sport, you're kind of already into that game. You've already got that structure.
Right.
Pursue that.
The problem is finding a USPSA 3-gun match.
Well, that's where I was going to go. Because, I mean, locally, I've shot one of the clubs out at Kitsap. They used to do 3-gun every month. Right. They did the pistol match on Saturday and then rifle and shotgun on Sunday. Right. So you could shoot 3-gun every month.
Right.
And now there's been this smattering of tactical rifle matches that spring up, and hey, we're going to do a shotgun side stage. So there's places you can shoot your shotgun and your rifle and your pistol, but not necessarily in a true kind of 3-gun format.
Right. And really there aren't that many that I know of USPSA 3-gun matches to shoot around here. So you're not going to be able to find one. There are things like tac rifle. Up at Custer they run tac rifle. I think they're in Renton they run a little tac rifle on Fridays. So there's some places that you can get a little bit of practice with the rifle.
But you're probably going to be traveling to shoot matches.
Yeah, you are. Now down in Albany, Oregon, if you want to go down there, once a month they run a 3-gun match. What they do the same thing you talked about before. They run pistol one day and then they run rifle shotgun the other day. Mm-hmm. So they make it into a 3-gun weekend. Right. So if you're going to go all the way down there, if you live up here, it takes a while. I mean, that's a drive to go down there. So if you go down, then you just spend the weekend there and you can shoot a 3-gun match.
Right.
But it's not as, you basically will go and set the match up and then shoot the match. I don't think they set it up a long time ahead of time. So it's one of those things where you might be helping out, put everything together.
Right.
You're part of the crew.
Right.
But that's part of the fun too, and meeting people and making friends.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's true.
If you make friends.
If you're able, if you can make friends. Yeah, exactly. So while we touched on the other episode on gear specifically geared towards 3-gun, like I mentioned earlier, I never bought any 3-gun specific equipment. Mm-hmm. And so from my perspective, I was already shooting pistol competition every weekend. And so if I was ever going to shoot my rifle or my shotgun, I was going to have to shoot 3-gun matches. Otherwise, They were just going to stay in the safe. And so I happen to have some long guns, and you don't need to have gear specifically configured for 3-gun to get into 3-gun. I mean, I had a pump 12 gauge Mossberg 590, which holds 9 rounds. That's all you can load anyway. The pump action isn't ideal, but I think a lot of people, if you've got a shotgun in the closet, it's very possibly your quail gun or whatever you use, or whatever your grandfather used when he went hunting, and it's very possibly a pump gun. Perfectly suitable. My perception was that the pump gun, its major disadvantage is based on stage design. I find, or while I was shooting 3-gun, that most shotgun stages consisted of poppers lined up like a plate rack, and it was almost just kind of like, okay, well, it's necessary to shoot your shotgun, so go over to this, stand here in this box and hose down 9 pepper poppers. And obviously when you're transitioning a foot between poppers, that auto pump, the auto gun is going to be a lot easier to manage than the pump gun. Mm-hmm. And I always thought, if I were allowed to shoot a typical pistol stage with a pump gun, the advantage of the auto gun to a certain extent goes away. The longer transitions, going and looking for things to shoot, and a lot of that I thought was missing in the 3-gun matches that I shot. And so if you've got a pump gun, it's going to put you at something of a disadvantage, but if that's what you have, go out and shoot that. I mean, that's the way I felt about it. I already had the 12 gauge pump gun, so that's what I used. Similarly with the rifle, I have an AR, but the gun that I shot most of the time was an M1 carbine. And for close range stuff.
Actually, saw you shoot that at the 2000. I was squatted with him at the 2006 Multigun Nationals.
Yeah, and it's a gun that I enjoyed shooting. I mean, that's really the thing, is that I wanted to go out, and of course I wasn't going to win anything. Well, I shouldn't say I wasn't going to win anything, but I wasn't going to win any matches shooting that gun. But if it's a gun that you have, it's perfectly suitable. And I also have an AR. It's not tricked out like with the optics, or it's just a standard A2 style with a carry handle and a iron sights on it. And if you're shooting, when I shot in limited at that time, you weren't allowed any optics. So I had iron sights on my pistol, my rifle, and my shotgun. And everybody's got 30-round AR mags. So as long as you've got a suitable rifle, you're good to go. Now, if you've got something like all the stuff that we've talked about here, the rifles have been 223, which is overwhelmingly popular. I mean, that's essentially what everybody shoots.
Pretty much, yeah.
Except in the heavy metal divisions, where they're shooting 308. And I shot some heavy metal with an M1 Garand, which again is not the most suitable because you can only load 8 and the reloading is slow. But if that's what you have, that's why I just call it run what you brung. If you've got a shotgun and a rifle and a pistol, you can get out there and do it, even if you don't have this trick gear. Now that, of course, then gets into our rules, which we touched on in the earlier episode as well. Most over-the-counter guns are going to be legal. Right?
Pretty much, yeah.
I mean, if you go to the store and buy a shotgun, buy a rifle, buy a pistol, they're probably going to be legal.
Right. Yeah, and what I would say is I think I've seen people come in and they have obviously just brought, sometimes I'll see them, they'll have a brand new R&R shotgun, they'll have a brand new JP rifle, they'll have a brand new open pistol, and like they're raring to go, they're going to win. And you got to realize when you come out and do this, you are not going to win. You're just not going to do it. I mean, you could have the best skills in the world, but the problem is you don't know how to play the game yet.
Right.
So even if you're the best shooter in the world, you're not going to win your first match. So number one, get over it.
Right.
So, and I think running what you run what you brung is a great idea because you get to go and try the sport out. Before you buy a bunch of expensive gear, bring the things that you have. Sometimes you may not even have all the guns. You might have like just a pistol and a rifle. Come on, I'm willing to bet somebody will lend you their shotgun to shoot the match.
And that's one of the things I was talking to somebody about getting into. We were actually talking about cowboy action shooting where you essentially have to have 4 guns.
Right.
And I just thought, if you and 3 of your buddies went in on it together, one guy buys a rifle, one guy buys a shotgun, 2 guys each buy a pistol, and all 4 of you can go play because you can share your gear.
Right.
And I don't know, I mean, maybe you'd have to have a family of triplets or something to pull it off in 3 guns. But you could get away with, say, if you had some close shooting buddies that you hang out with, somebody could buy 1 of each type, and everybody could share their gear.
It's kind of unusual. I have seen people share the guns. I've seen quite often, especially families, I'll see them share guns. But it's not uncommon. And I've also seen people that go to a match and their stuff breaks down. And I always carry 2 shotguns and 2 rifles with me, and I have loaned them numerous times to other people to finish matches up. And I don't mind doing that. I mean, to me, that's what the sport is all about. It's helping each other. Sure. And sometimes you have to do that. You know? But
do you find the level of camaraderie like that to be greater in 3-gun, say, than in pistol-only competition? Is it a little tighter-knit community, do you think? Or?
I think it is. The biggest thing is that it's a smaller community. And so, I mean, pretty much, everybody knows each other. If you do this for a few years, you'll be could be on first name basis with the best people in the sport. Only because if you go to a lot of matches, you'll run into them and talk to them. Right. And so it's not that hard. In any other big sport, motor racing, golf, you don't know the top guy. You know, the number 1 guy that's winning all the match, you don't know him personally. In 3-gun, you can get to know these people because you can end up squatted with them. You'll see them in matches, and they'll talk to you. They don't have a bunch of people around them keeping you away. You can walk right up to Jerry or Mike and just say, "Hey, how you doing?" and start talking, and they'll talk to you. I had Michael Voigt ride on my back one time at a match, because I was running faster than him to reset, and so he decided to slow me down. And I carried him on my back for about 30 yards. And it's different. It's not like pistol matches. I think are still a lot of fun, and there's a lot of camaraderie. But because there's so many people, I think it's more divided up. Yeah. And there isn't as much equipment, so there's not as many things to go wrong. When you go to a 3-gun match, the chances, you have 3 times as many chances to have something break. Right. So it's possible. But you can definitely go out there and have fun with the stuff that you already have, or you can buy the most inexpensive stuff, or you can just show up in a match and see what people have, and they'll let you try it out. I know I let people try my stuff out all the time. So it's not any big deal coming out and just getting your feet wet a little bit. But don't, because you just don't have one of the right things, or you don't think you have the right optic, or you don't think you have the fancy shotgun. Come out with what you got and play the game, and then after a while you'll realize, I've seen this, I like this, that's what I want to get. Or you learn where to spend your money before you go and blow. Literally, this is $3,500. A JP rifle is, like $2,500. A nice pistols and all. You can spend easily over $10,000. Right. And then you're still not going to be any better than the guy that running what he brung. Right. Because you don't have the skills yet.
Yeah. Yeah. So now when I was shooting 3-gun, I shot in limited, which at that time was iron sights across the board, 9 rounds in the shotgun, I think 30 in the rifle probably. We've got tactical, we've got open. How many different divisions are there, and what distinguishes the different divisions?
Okay, so the biggest division you have, and rightly so, is going to be tactical optics. And some places call it tactical, some places call it optics. I've heard called limited optics. Basically, if you can use the optic on your rifle, a single optic on your rifle, that's what we're talking about, tactical optics. And that division is going to be the biggest because that's what most people have. Most people have iron-sighted shotguns, they're shooting iron-sighted pistols, and they're shooting a single optic on their rifle. Okay. So that's the big division. Next is going to be open. So open's very popular. The thing about open is that you see a vast array of different kinds of equipment. So you're going to see different kinds of shotgun, a lot of different kinds of shotguns. Pistols are going to vary from like 2011s like this. You'll see customized Glocks. You'll see different things with optics on them. And of course the rifle, same thing. You're going to end up with people with multiple. Some run them with one optic. Some people run them multiple optics. And of course the bipod, which is probably the biggest thing for the rifle and open. Next down is limited. So limited division. One of the big changes that they've made to limited in the last few years, it's not everywhere, but most places have gone this way, even USPSA, is that they'll let you use an unmagnified red dot sight now.
One
On your rifle, correct.
Okay.
And then you can actually run the 45-degree iron sights, although some matches I know will not let you do offset sights. They'll have to be aligned sights. So you can have iron sights and the red dot, but they have to be
both on the center line.
Yeah, okay. It depends on the match, so there can be some differences there. But essentially, so you're going to have the same thing as you're in TAC optics, except you're going to have no optic on your rifle, or just that unmagnified. No magnified optics, right? So like similar to this little red dot I have in there, or anything like that has no magnification but a red dot. Could be like a Seymour or STS, any of those kind of sights.
Okay.
All right. The next division would be heavy metal. And there's two basic types of heavy metal. There's the heavy metal optical and then heavy metal irons. So and depending on the match you're at, there may or may not be one of those. So now we're up to 5 divisions. So a new division that we're going to let come into our match was the Northwest Multigun Challenge. We're actually going to have one squad this next year of wild bunch shooters. It turns out that at the range we're at, they're COSA in Bend, they have a whole bunch of cowboy shooters. And this year while we were running their match, they came over in their cowboy hats and their outfits, and they were really, really excited. And they're like, oh, we really want to do that. And I'm like, well, come on out, we'll let you guys shoot it. And he goes, oh, no, we want to do the competition. I'm like, well, I guess we could figure out some way, because you guys have only 2 rounds in your shotgun, and you only got 6-shooter pistols and little tiny, those little carbines. And he's like, no. He goes, we have the wild bunch division.
Right.
And I'm like, wild bunch? And he goes, yeah. So you have 1911s.
Right.
You have 1897 shotguns.
Right.
And they let them use. I think there's a couple of different rifles they can use.
Yeah.
But a rifle that's capable of hitting stuff, farther away than 50 yards.
Okay.
So they actually could put together, a group. And so we said, well, okay, we'll let you guys sign up this year. And they were really happy. So that's one of the first ones I've heard of. I don't know if any place else has done this.
That's pretty cool.
It's going to be a new. So we'll get some of the cowboy action shooter guys and let them come out and play in the 3-gun arena.
So you essentially created a rule set just for these guys to accommodate them at your match.
Right. That's what we're going to do. We haven't actually made the rule set up, but we will.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I mean, that's because I know a lot of the local clubs that have range facilities suitable for USPSA and IDPA have cowboy action at the club. So being able to integrate those guys, that's cool. That's cool. It'll be interesting to see how that works out. All right, so we're looking forward to more 3-gun episodes. If you guys have questions, comments, something specific you want addressed, go ahead and contact us at powerfactorshow@gmail.com. Of course, we've got the website, powerfactorshow.com, and if you love us on Facebook, I'm sure you know the Facebook address. So we're going to finish up with a 3-gun trivia question, usual format. But we're going to let Doug formulate the question, and you'll have the usual week to get those answers in.
And you can find the answer to this question at www.nwmultigun.com in the rules section, and that is, how many shots does it take to neutralize a paper target?
So send those answers into the Gmail email address, and good luck. So until next week, I'm Rick.
And I'm Doug.
And we'll see you at the range.